So I couldn't take it. I used the level and figured out approximately the line that matches this, and was trying to figure out how to cut it. And the best thing I can figure out is the chainsaw. So it's interesting. No. But you guys get the idea. I got that curve in there, so now I can bridge this with the tin and get this front sealed up and aerodynamic. Back out in the shop, we took a week off. Sorry about that. We got to go out and do a little snowmobiling before all the snow melted. So we had, I only got 170 miles on with my dad and aunt and uncle, but still a good time nevertheless. And that's actually what this thing is being built for, is so we can go places and not have to worry about finding a hotel room or staying with people and everything else. We can show up, have a good time, have our own space, and keep on going. So you'll see in the video I did the wrong thing the wrong way, cutting out an angle for the trim work we're going to put on here through all the wood, and screwed up my chainsaw blade, but it is what it is. I'm going to put the trim work on here, the J channel, so that way we can start looking on how this is going to wrap around. I still haven't decided whether or not I might just completely cut out the lower box that is down here. Let me see if I can, I don't know if you guys can see this, but I pointed this out before, and on the inside there's this lower part. It's the only bottom part of the original camper left, and I'm gonna try to tuck the tin up underneath here as it wraps around. That way we keep watershed going on the outside. I do have this trim work off the original camper that I think I want to put on there. I think it'll look kind of cool, but if I continue to tuck things under, I'm kind of thinking, well, if I just got rid of that, I could keep it going underneath and put in regular support and just be one less thing to worry about on the inside to work around. But we'll see what's going to happen. So we're just going to, normally I try to put this all up in there and cut it off at the right height, but because we're kind of working with a height issue, and I think a lot of this we're going to have to slide up behind here, I don't think we have enough height. So we're just going to cut it to the length of this other one, which will be longer than what we need, but it's easier to trim off something that's a little too long. We're just going to go 76. It's several inches longer than what we need. We'll cut them both that way, and then we can slide them up in, start getting this bolted through that to have it held on, and then there's another piece of trim that'll go in here that I have around somewhere that'll kind of finish this off nicely and allow us to curve that down to keep the wind out of it horribly, but this will give us really good watershed while we're going down the road. So yeah, we'll just get these cut at 76 and we'll go from there. You ever notice that some tape measures always seem to be better than others? You know what? There we go. There's a super quick and easy way to do it. Okay, we're gonna make sure that cut edge is down because we're gonna be recutting it anyway. So might as well put the nicest edge up. These become extras again. Okay. See if we can get these slid up in here. So this side's going to be a little bit easier than the other side because this side kind of splays out a little bit. The other side is tucked in, so we're going to have to see if we're going to have to tilt the whole trailer up or what. So I do have a little bit of a piece of trim up there. I gotta get the ladder that we can just gotta sneak it behind or in front of. I love having a heated shop, but this one is not nearly big enough. Let me get a pick real quick. There we go. As easy as that. Perfect. Yeah, I just used like a radiator pick. Works awesome. So that's pretty much, this is obviously going to be pushed in like this. Make sure you guys can see that. This is going to get pushed in like this. So we can get that trim work in there, but you can see how much nicer, even if it's like this, how much nicer this finishes off this edge rather than trying to just put trim work in there and not having anything there. So, and this will also allow us to bring that tin around and tuck it in here. And like I said, I think I'm gonna try to fold this over. Such as this. You can kind of see if this was in there like that, see how I pinch this down? If you guys can, it will focus in on that. I just folded it over so it makes more of a triangle, and that'll help keep everything from catching in there. But yet, because it is a J channel, everything will still run to the bottom. Obviously water and everything's still going to go in there, but allow it just to run out the bottom and hopefully never have an issue getting inside. So we have some welding left to do. We have this tin work left to do. I'm going to get this piece on the other side and we will keep on going. I would like to get this thing almost set up to get out of the garage. I got some oil changes to do on the cars and I don't want to do them outside. So, okay, unboxing time. I'd been kind of going back and forth on how I wanted to do this. I was looking at, for the tongue jack, I was looking at putting 2 drop legs, one on each side. These are just stuff I had lying around. I ultimately decided to go with 1 center mount just for ease and quickness. That way I can get it jacked up off the truck or wherever on one, and then I can level it with either some kickstands that I could put on here, or using this style jack as a stabilizer, but not necessarily trying to get it off the truck using 2 jacks. And this one I ended up, the front of the camper is a little too close to it. So we went to Harbor Freight and we got the 10,000 pound, which is overkill for this, but better than underkill. 10,000 pound drop leg jack. This one would have had the option, or I guess does, but I'm not going to use it, that you can extend them and put two. You can have two jacks connected. If the smaller ones, if the 5,000 pound jacks, they're weld-on straight jacks, straight leg jacks actually. Here is the other one that I bought already that I've had sitting around that I haven't used. If this would have had an extension on it to come out this side, so I could have put them both together to use as a set, more almost like what a fifth wheel camper would have, or most campers would have, I absolutely would have used these. I think this one, I seen somebody that put in a chunk of 2-inch stock onto this, and then they put receivers all over what they were, their trailers or trucks or whatever else. You know, a four-wheeler, you can, that way they could just slide this in, adjust it, and crank up whatever they wanted very securely, kind of a play on the old British jacks that went into the side of the car. So I'm sure we'll use this for something. Like I said, we might just use it for making it a universal jack that I could have between the tires on this thing if I ever had to do a roadside repair or take one off. It's always nice to have a jack, and that's a lot easier to move around than a floor jack if it comes down to that. But we went with this thing. We're going to put it in the center. I love these drop leg. These are spring-loaded drop legs. So you pull the pin, move it over to the side, you can step on it, you hit the switch, it'll lock in up, and then you can crank her down to wherever you want. We'll read the directions on exactly where they suggest to mount it. But I'm debating on, you know, obviously there's the handles like this. I am debating on, because I'm going to put this in the center, I'm going to put brackets on here and then bolt it to the chassis. That way if we ever decide to move it or we have a problem with it, we can take it off without trying to cut it off. But I'm looking at, if I send the rods out both sides, having it where I can, like possibly welding a nut on the end of one of them, so I could use a cordless drill, or, you know, I don't want to say impact, but something like that where I could power this up and down. I could also take this bracket off of here and put it, you know, weld on a socket, and then from the outside crank it up and down, but then it would be universal side to side depending on where you're standing or who's standing where. You know, obviously we've all been in that situation. I wish it was on the other side. So we'll see. Normally you keep it on the driver's side, because if you're getting in and out of your vehicle, you're not going to want to walk over the tongue, walk under this or whatever else just to jack it off your truck, just to walk around and stuff like that. So, but yeah, super excited about doing this. And not having these other jacks here. This one I can't even do anymore. When I slid it forward, the handle hits. So we'll get this thing installed, and then it'll be so much easier to put it on and off the truck. Currently it's really easy in the shop because I just use the lift, but out in the yard I have to bring out the floor jack, so not ideal. We have this thing extended all the way. Pretty much I think there's more cranking that we could do. Just been, you know, just keeps on going. It says it's supposed to have a 12.5-inch stroke. I'm currently at about 10 inches of outward travel, which is, I mean, that's a lot. Plus we have the drop leg. There'd be 5 holes, and we're in the top one. So, I mean, you could legitimately really jack something up with this thing. So I think I'm going to mark halfway down the pipe here. We're at, no, just over, we're probably at 11.5 inches. So I'm going to take from this bottom edge and just mark at 5. That's about where, if this thing was all the way up and everything, that's kind of where, and we're in the middle position, that's where I'm going to want it to be contacting the ground on the truck. We're currently level on the trailer. So that is what I'm thinking is going to be my good position. This spring in here is no joke though. So then I pulled it and I released it, and now it's just on friction, but I re-released this so it's ready to retract, and it found its hole. So these are really slick. I have this on my other trailer that came with it. So we'll crank this back down. We're in the middle position, so we know we can suck it up further. We know we can drop it down further. And we'll see where that is. If I decide, there is the possibility that I might look at extending it one more tooth. That would still give us the highest ability, but that would get this jack further off the ground if that were something that we decided we needed. You know, the less stuff you got hanging low, the better. But we'll have to see where it sits on here. Obviously, we have more than enough travel to do whatever we need. And it's in between these slots. Not that you guys can see it, but it's 3.5 inches. So I could mount it up where it needed that. But the other thing of it is if you guys are ever mounting a jack, this one has a pretty good pad on it. But I usually like to throw something else underneath them when they're sitting in grass or dirt or whatever, just so you have less possibility of rusting, sitting on the ground and or freezing to the ground, pulling up a chunk of sod or whatever if you happen to park it there in the fall. And for me, the ground freezes, it can actually take an entire chunk out with it. So, you know, block of wood is always fantastic. Everybody's been using them forever. There's those plastic sheets that we've used. We've used chunks of metal. One of the slicker things to use that I found is your old brake rotors. If you got an old brake rotor out of a car, they're usually small, they're thin, they're metal. You're gonna throw them away anyway. Throw those out in the yard. For the most part, depending on where you're sitting, a lot of people can't even see it if you're gone or whatever. I've even mowed over one of them and didn't catch it. So I've also used old rims, just steel wheels. If you need some to get something higher, you can put that under there. But again, that will, because the bottom of the wheel, unless it has a tire on it, which then it's a lot harder to move around, that steel wheel can sink in and basically become a cookie cutter to pull out sod or whatever, or get stuck and then it's just stuck there and you're using a sledgehammer to get it out. Never any fun. So there's our mark. That's what I'm thinking for height. Let's see how. So if I put that in there like that, yeah, I think we're gonna go one more tooth, because otherwise this thing is gonna be going down the road basically only 3 inches off the ground, maybe 5 inches. Well, I'd crank it up. So, but it's only going to be about this far off the ground. So 6 inches. You know, I think going one more notch will be good. But we'll have to see on, I don't know if you guys can see this, but we're starting to run out of distance here. So maybe we won't be able to. But the instructions didn't really give any exact measurements of how it would be. The other thing we could do is just crank it up so it is basically level or just underneath this, because we want, you know, we'd like it a little bit proud. We could crank it up with the jack and get it up to where basically as high as we're ever going to want it to be mounted securely the way we want it to. And then wherever the drop leg finds itself, it finds itself. No big deal. Whether we're only on position 2, but we're putting a block of wood underneath of it, or we're on position 3 and we're just putting a small piece of plastic or plywood or something underneath it just to keep it from sticking to the ground. That's a possibility too. So we'll screw around with this a little bit. But like I said, I just wanting to get some big pieces of angle iron. Let me see if I have the piece I'm thinking. This is what I'm thinking. This is some pretty heavy gauge, was that probably quarter wall? think it's 3x3 here, angle iron. Yep. So if I cut some brackets that'll fit in here perfectly, let's say 9 inches, just to give it a little bit of wiggle. Cut these things 8-9 inches down. We can tack them to the jack, clamp them on really good. Then we can have it all sitting there and then just drill through everything. Or I can set these up in the press and pre-drill these holes. Then all we have to do is drill through that. Get in some good bolts. I'm thinking probably 6, 3 on each side. Would be more than plenty good for this. Again, if this was a equipment trailer and we're hauling, you know, and this was a 10,000 pound trailer and that's the only jack on it and we're going to be lifting stuff loaded, we might look at doing this a completely different way. Obviously, you never want to max anything out. If I was going to go any heavier duty with this trailer than what it's really going to be, especially for tongue weight, I would be putting 2 of those on. That's why my other gooseneck is it has 2 of those on it, but it's a 12,000 pound trailer, so you're never going to have all the weight on the jack, but you never want to strain those things, because if they go out, you're pretty much dead in the water unless you got equipment around. So we'll keep on mocking this up. I'll bring you guys back for when we get closer to knowing exactly what we're doing and put that in. But yeah, I'm really excited about it. Got our metal here. We're going to mark it at 8, 16, see if I can find some wood scraps here. You know, sometimes I'd like to see the companies that make these saws and stuff like this with the base on them. They should always make them that they're 1.5 inches or 3 inches high, or it would be very easy if it was always a certain length 2x4. And I suppose I could be proven wrong right here. It's almost the same size as a 4x4. So if you used so DeWalt didn't have it that far off, but this is working pretty good here. I'm sure you guys noticed I wasn't wearing my safety glasses when I cut that stuff, that J channel. So we'll throw those on and try to keep our eyeballs intact today. Yep, that should work just fine. thing out of the way for now. Clean all these up. I got some brackets in here I still got to cut off or get out of the way. But yeah, it'll go on there each side really good. We'll clean up the back side surface here, the side surface where these are actually going to get, where these are going to meet up. And then that way we can weld on the back side and the front side here. Probably put a tack on the top and bottom. We're only going to clean up. I'm going to try to leave as much spots behind of the factory paint as I can. This side has a sticker on it that we're going to have to peel off, and so it doesn't burn. But the other thing I did in here is I slid the jack over to each side, and I kind of traced the end of the crankshaft there onto the edge here. So I have an approximate location of where I have to drill a hole through to send the extensions for the crank rod up and down, or out the side. So that was just kind of a nice little thing that I got done, and now I got to check it to make sure that I wasn't hitting this compared to the other side. But never a bad thing to double check yourself. So, but that should be good. Okay, we've got all the tools we need to start getting this thing into position. I put some marks on it before. The one thing I can kind of see is it's leaning. So we'll throw a level on that. Yep, that's what we need. Is going to be almost perfectly right there. So what I'm going to do here is cheat this thing. We're gonna have to get some more cheater bars. Maybe a strap will work. At least it's not a long one. Okay, let's see how this works. Throw this in there. This one here. How are we looking now? That is looking pretty level there. I have to cheat this thing over just a touch. Go. With that, we can dial in our angle with it. That is perfect. We're straight. So I got these all ground down. I got this shined up. I painted this better back here because remember we're gonna bolt it through so we don't have to worry about all of that being an issue. We're just gonna go. So I'm gonna sneak this thing down. Well, wait a minute, let me see here. Always evolving. I think I'm gonna sneak it down, that way I can get a bead on here. There is a little recess here that helps keep pressure on the side of the jack. So we'll just do a weld down here on the bottom. We still have plenty of weld up here and such. Hopefully the clamps that I grabbed are gonna be adequate. I'm kind of feeling like we are gonna be right at their max, but they might work. So I happen to have some little chunks of metal that I cut off from here and there, just sitting on the ground here. So we're gonna use those as little spacers. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. The clamp is just right at the max. Let me see if I have a different kind of clamp. You see that really nice big welding clamp at your local tool store, like Harbor Freight or whatever else, and you wonder, why would I ever need that? This is why you need it. These aren't even gonna work, so we're gonna switch gears here a little bit. Let's see if I can clamp it to the frame, and then we'll just see if we can just tack it while it's sitting here. That might actually work better anyway. Yep. Well, they say necessity is the mother of invention. So in tightening this one up, it won't open up far enough to go around the I-beam. There we go. Yeah, that looks really good. So let's do some measuring. Check our angles and stuff again. Go to the crown. 30 to the crown. I think we're looking pretty fantastic there. Now we know we're tight to the frame and I can see here. So I think this is going to be the hot ticket. Check underneath. A little bit there. Tight there. I think we're good to put some weld on this. Let me go grab my helmet. We'll do it the right way. Now the things I'm doing here is, obviously this is much thinner gauge metal, so I'm focusing more of my heat on the angle iron and then just getting up into this. Well, you can see our heat marks are coming up into the jack pretty good, so I'm not worried about anything, but I think if we really laid into this as much as we are as that 1/8 inch plate angle iron, we could potentially burn a hole in this or warp the inside, which could possibly make it so it wouldn't jack smoothly or at all. Well, that is a hell of a task. Now, in all actuality, would it have mattered if this was canted a little bit for what we just did? No, but I'd rather do it right both times rather than have a mistake later on. So once we get this all welded in, then we'll do exactly the same thing. We'll get it bolted in there. We'll make sure it's centered. We'll level it. Everything will be perfect. Then we'll drill through. We'll have it clamped in really good. Then we'll drill all the way through. You know, put one drill through, put a bolt in, drill through, put a bolt in. Then we can drill everything else because we know it's not going to move. But we are going to have a jack here very shortly. It always helps to hook up your ground. think the directions said that this only needed 3 1-inch welds per side, so 6 welds that were 1/4-inch fillets. We got, with the way that this stuff is, we definitely have that. That's not a problem. And then we're also doubling up because we have the front side and the back side. And the top and bottom. This side's going to be a little trickier, that jack post. Yeah, I think I can support it on my knee here. I like it. What do you guys think? How easy was that? I have no idea if it's actually good or bad, but I've always liked the idea of burning the paint in. And later on we'll hit this with something, probably some spray truck bed liner paint, especially up here, because we're definitely going to get a lot of road debris and sand and salt and wet and everything else that's going to be hitting this. Like I said, we'll get this centered. Golden right there, as long as we're centered, and drill some holes in. Very, very close. Rock star. Always good for your level to throw them on the ground or fall over. Perfect. Awesome. Hey, the one thing I'll say about this Harbor Freight jack too is the sticker we had to take off the one side just peeled right off the paint. I didn't have to worry about it or anything else, or try to figure out how to peel old residue or anything else. So that was very nice to have to deal with. Yeah, we're sitting really, really good. So yeah, let's drill some holes, and you know what? I'm not gonna weld it in, but we're gonna give it a tack on each side just so I know it's not gonna move with a drill bit. And yes, this is gonna be a dirty weld. There we go. Like I said, dirty weld, but now with the clamp and those little tiny tacks, that will be nothing to take off if I ever had to or do. I know I can 100% drill those holes and not have any movement. Drilled a hole through the cross brace here, and these will probably come out, but right now I don't want to take the chance because if they do have tension underneath them, I don't want it springing loose. But once we get other things welded in here, we can cut these off. But I got that last screw out, so I got all these out, and we can pop this all loose. Oh, look at that. So there's something I wasn't expecting. This is where the bottom tub and the top tub are actually seamed together. So that'll be even easier to put that tin underneath here. And like I said, I don't know, this might just go away. This bottom portion here might just go away, and it'll give us a little bit more room on the inside and set us up better for structure. So after sawzalling and wedging and everything else, we finally got it loose. What it was is there's a 2x2 up here and a 2x2 down here, and when they put them together they screwed them down, but obviously the window wasn't in the way, so we just cut through everything, some of it for better, some of it for worse, but finally loose. One thing I did was able to save is off of each corner. These are the original curve, so I can make sure that when I'm putting everything back together, I am keeping the correct curvature just to make it look right. And obviously they did a good job at some time, but you can see how much plywood there was, but also how rotten it was too. And this was up off the ground, so you can only imagine what the floor was, and the floor was this thick or thicker. So, but yeah, feels good to get that off, and now we can keep on going. Okay, I've got the last step here before we call it a weekend. I was hoping to get this thing out of here, like I said, to do some oil changes, but I don't think that's going to happen. So we're going to try to get this piece of tin kind of figured out if we can snake it in there and get it on the road to being where it needs to be. We will see how this goes. So this is like I said, I got this a friend of mine that I've seen around, and it turns out it's going to be just about perfect for this project. That's everything too. Well, I'm going to keep on fighting. I'm sure you guys don't need to see me struggle with this. When I get close to being completely in, we'll give an update. So per usual, I got a little ahead of myself and found out why it was fighting so badly. The distance that we had from here to get up in here is like 22 and a half. This was 24. So instead of trying to pull it all back out and figure it out with the window and everything else, I just notched it here to give me my extra 2 inches that I needed. And then that also makes it so this hangs down, not that you can really see it, but that that front edge hangs over that front beam a little further, so that's never a bad thing to help to flex. So now we can start on some trim work up and down and around. But at least it's in there. I also got my bushing put in there really well. You see this side wrapped around, and now you can see where this trim is. Like I said, I'm going to put a piece of the factory trim work, which will be something about like this. Okay, now we're inside. You can see there's the spool that I got, and we cut this out with all means necessary, and now it's in. We got it up, so you can see where on the bottom here, that's the structure that I had built to hold this. But now that that's gone, we can frame this out from top to bottom as normal and get a way more insulation value in here. And also just to really open this space up. I know it seems kind of weird, it's only maybe a foot, but it feels a lot more open. So we got some good things done this week. We got some of the insulation up. We had their board in. Our electrical chase is in. We got our front edge in. Now we're just keep on going with the little stuff. It's to the point now where I feel like I could take this thing outside and park it, and I'm not going to have a problem with rodents and stuff like that getting in here as much as I normally would. I think the only thing left to seal up now are these back little spots, and I am nearly positive I'm just going to take this back wall section off, and I'm thinking about just Herculining or truck bed lining the plywood. That's pretty common around here for fish houses and stuff. They just make them out of plywood and then paint them, and that stuff lasts awesome. But you can also see there's the roof. But I think if we do the back wall in that and get rid of this fiberglass, we can figure out a way to finish this top section here. I'm thinking about putting some big metal beams in, or some metal piping from the down up, kind of curl around over and down and back around. Give us a lot of structure back here and strength